We've gotten 4 new heroes for the Outlanders. We've gotten a pirate, we've gotten a Magi, we've gotten a Fira, we've gotten an Ocelot. Each one unique from their own unique culture and backgrounds and societies. And you know what? If you were to ask me which one I was most excited for, probably Ocelot, mostly because when I think about the Aztec Jaguar and what they're capable of, even given all the new information I've learned about them and all the research I've done, it still is a very interesting idea to me to think about these Aztec Jaguars going up against the technologically superior as well as more popular and famous knights, samurai, Vikings, Chinese warriors, all that. Not to say that the Aztec warriors aren't warriors, not to say that they aren't unique or fascinating in their own way, but I always just thought, man, how could you even throw these warriors into a world where these guys exist? It just doesn't seem fair. But after picking up the hero and playing him, I really did enjoy him. I had my own aspects about the character that I really liked. For one thing, his fashion was on point. I think a lot of the outfits for Ocelot are really, really good. It's one of the few characters with outfits that seem to work with just about any color palette you pick. The more vibrant and tropical colors just work really well with Ocelot. So honestly, he's a great character to get for the drip alone. And honestly, I thought that his whole appeal, the kind of stealthy nature of his first feat and the ability to buff and nerf those who kill him or buff himself when he gets a kill, really, really neat. There were things that I wasn't too happy about. For one thing, I didn't like the fact that Ocelot isn't really a stealth warrior overall. He's not an assassin. Because I thought, an Aztec hunter, a Jaguar warrior, is going to be all about that stealth. But no, he's really not. Other than his first feat, which allows him to come back from the dead invisible and go to a spot on the map and then respawn after a bit, just not with full health. That was pretty neat, but that's about the only stealthy thing about him you could talk about. He has this pounce attack, but it doesn't make him invisible. It doesn't remove him from your line of sight. It's totally telegraphed, very easy to respond to, not unblockable, not feintable, not undodgeable. It's overall useless. I very rarely see people use it at all, to be quite frank with you. The only reason I've ever seen people use it is to use it like a Nobushi or Zhang Jun, Shifu, or Hidden Stance, just to kind of dodge an attack. But even then, it's not like you could do anything else after it. You could do your heavy, but then that's just easily parried and tossed aside, so I don't even know why you'd do it. Frankly, I was kind of disappointed because I thought, Ocelotl should be this stealthy assassin kind of warrior, but he's really not. So that was disappointing. But overall, I still thought that what we got was pretty cool. I liked the use of the Maquito Club. I liked the Tepatli Spear. I thought that a lot of this was really cool. Now, I'd heard some criticisms about the character, like from my buddy Havoc. He had a lot of criticisms about the character, but I didn't really understand what those criticisms were until after a long period of time playing the character and playing against the character, and then it started to dawn on me what's so strange about Ocelotl. I say strange because, much like his name, his pronunciation, it's not all that it seems, It's not quite what you expect. So let me just try to break it down as simply as I can. And keep in mind, I want to say this from the offset, I'm not an expert on balancing or game mechanics. I'm a lore and history and storytelling guy. That is my thing. So if you want someone to better break down the balancing or mechanical issues of Ocelot, go check them out. Like, say, you could talk to Havoc, you could talk to Freeze, you could talk to these other people, but I'll tell you just what I see and what I believe is the big problem with Ocelot. Here's what I think is so strange about Ocelot. His strength is also what is annoying about him, and I'll explain what I mean. Ocelot has the ability to basically overwhelm his opposition very easily. When he throws an attack, he has access to any follow-up attack combo he wants. You throw a light, you can go into another light, which ends your combo, or you can do a bash, you can do a heavy, you can do a zone. You can repeat this process as long as you want into light, zone, heavy, light, bash, zone, light again. And you can do this as long as you have stamina to burn. Now, if you use a second attack that it matches the one you just did, so a second light or a second heavy, not only will that end the combo, but it changes the property of that second attack. So if I do a second heavy after a first heavy, it will become unblockable. If I do a second zone, the attack will come slower, but it will have hyper armor a lot sooner. If I do a second light, it will be super fast. And if I do a second bash, it will pin my opponent and also do extra damage. So, all in all, pretty neat, right? Sounds pretty fun. An infinite attacking hero who can keep going as long as he has stamina. Sounds good, right? There is a problem, though, and I think it's a problem for people like Havoc and other people who have figured out that this game is highly meant to be a read-based game, where you understand your opponent, you understand what they're going to do, you understand the character that they're playing and what that character is capable of, and you can kind of guess, okay, this character has a few options, he's probably going to do this. I should brace myself for that, and then try to read out the player. The problem with Ocelot is because he has so many options, and those options change the property of whatever he does depending, he's incredibly hard to read, and it's not hard to make him so. Like, let me explain what I mean. Shinobi's a similar example. You look at Shinobi also has a lot of options, but most of those options fall back on his dodge abilities, his back steps, his unblockable tops being feintable, his undodgeable side heavies. Like, there are options, but you can usually guess based on what he does next what he's going to do. For example, if a Shinobi does a double dodge, I can guess he's probably going to do a kick, so I should probably dodge the kick. Oh wait, he might do a back step. Maybe I should guard break him. You can pretty much figure out if Shinobi does this, odds are good he's going to follow up with this. You can usually try to read an opponent based on the movements they do. With Ocelotl, there is no such ability. If he throws a light, what's he going to do? Is he, like, pick door number 1, is he going to do a bash? Door number 2, is he going to do a heavy? Door number 3, is he going to do a zone? Take your pick. Wrong, it was door number 4, he just did another light. You know, it's very hard to figure out what he will do, and because of that, a lot of players who pick up Ocelot learn that you don't have to put a lot of thought into what you do. You can literally button mash. You can just press buttons to get the win. Like, alright, I think I'm going to do light, heavy, zone, heavy, heavy, up, and combo dodge, heavy, zone, feint, guard break, and then just keep doing this over and over because Ocelot is capable of doing it. Now, I'm not saying that playing Ocelotl requires no brain at all. Quite the opposite. Whenever I play Ocelot, I do have to be careful, but not because Ocelot himself is hard to use, but because the opponents I play will usually be, really quick light parriers, so I can't always open up with a light like I'd like to. Getting an opening with Ocelot can be the tricky portion. But once you get that opening, Ocelot can just start devastating with the right combination. And I do think that some people just go full Unga Boonga on Ocelot. So I suppose this asks the question, do I like Ocelot or do I hate Ocelot? Well, as the title of the video would suggest, Ocelot to me is strange. I don't hate him. I don't have a vehement disgust every time I see him. I kind of look at Ocelot as, you're good, but you could be better. And when I say could be better, I don't mean that you need to be buffed. No, far from it. I think you need to be adjusted. For one thing, I think what they need to do with Ocelot is take him down a stealthier route. Like, make him have, maybe more dodge capability. His dodge light is the only dodge thing he's capable of. I would expect him to be more of a dodge-based hero rather than a hyper armor hero. Let me be real. The fact you gave Ocelot hyper armor baffles me. For Honor, this is a real question. I do mean this from the bottom of my soul. What is with you in giving unarmored characters hyper armor? Like, Lawbringer has hyper armor on his second heavy. That's the only attack he has hyper armor on. But you gave hyper armor to Raider, you gave hyper armor to Warlord, you gave hyper armor to Jormungandr, you gave hyper armor to, Highlander, you gave hyper armor to all these characters who have less armor than Lawbringer. Now you're giving hyper armor to Ocelot, who objectively has some of the worst armor in the game. What the heck? Like, he should not have this hyper armor. It makes far more sense to give hyper armor to the more armored characters, in my opinion, but it's another tangent for another day. Let's get back on track. Like I said, the fact that he has hyper armor is baffling. I think he should maybe have an undodgeable light, kind of like what Orochi has. Take away his hyper armor zones, remove that zone hyper armor nonsense, give him an undodgeable light attack. I think that'd be interesting. Maybe make it so that his initial bash doesn't do damage, it just drains stamina, but that secondary bash he can do does damage. Because I think that the problem is Ocelot just has so many ways of dealing damage without being able to read and counter a lot of what he does. Now, you may say, oh, Raven, you're just speaking out of hurt because you can't beat them. I am capable of beating an Ocelot. I am more than capable of doing it. But my issue is I'm looking at this from an overall perspective. I'm looking at this as a casual player. I feel like one of the big problems that For Honor has, and this is just me, I admit, but one of the big problems that For Honor has is that the developers tend to listen more to the competitive scene, so they hear from these people who are competitive players, who are really great at light parrying, really great at reads, really great at everything, and thus they don't hear from the casual community who have these issues with these characters that are just so hard for them to read. I think there needs to be a balance there, and I think Ocelotl is a glowing testament of that. I don't hate the character. There are many things about the character Ocelotl that I like. Like I said, his drip is on point, his style is great, his voice lines are awesome, his executions for the most part are pretty cool. Even his fighting style itself is not a bad idea. He looks cool when he fights. I think the problem is he's so hard to read at times. I think maybe his attacks maybe need to drain more stamina, maybe change his initial bash to a stamina draining bash, maybe make it so that he has an undodgeable light rather than a hyper armor zone attack. Like, there are options we could go with here. I don't know. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Like I said, I'm not that kind of tuber. I'm not that kind of content creator who knows all that stuff. But these are just my thoughts on Ocelotl. So, final verdict, Ocelotl to me is a strange one. He's not a character that I absolutely detest. Look, there are some characters that when I go up against, I just groan because I'm like, oh, God. With Ocelotl, I just go, this is going to get painful. Like, that's how I look at Ocelotl. And there is a difference. I look at a Hitakiri or a Kyoshin or a Shinobi and just go, oh, God, this is about to happen. When I look at Ocelotl, I go, this is going to hurt. I can win, but I will be very much tested, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's the beauty of Ocelotl and also the pain of Ocelotl. He will test you, but I think the test is on a higher level than some people are ready to take, and I think that he needs to be brought down a few pegs just to put him at a better range, because right now I think he's definitely S tier. I think he deserves to be A or B tier, high B tier. I don't want to hate on the guy. Ocelotl has some cool stuff, like I said. But to keep this game fun and to keep Ocelotl where he needs to be, I do think some adjustments need to be made. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know what you think about Ocelotl down in the comments. Be respectful as always, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.